Hello friends, I hope you are well. Today we will talk about Diodorus Siculus. Diodorus Siculus, also known as Diodorus of Sicily, was an ancient Greek historian who lived around 90 to 30 BCE. He was born in the city of Agirium, located in the heart of Sicily. At that time, Sicily was a place of great cultural blending between Greek traditions and the growing influence of Rome. Diodorus grew up in an environment where the history and stories of ancient Greece were still very much alive, and he likely received a strong education in rhetoric, literature, and philosophy. From an early age, he developed an enduring passion for history, which would shape his life's work. To write his ambitious history of the world, Diodorus undertook extensive travels across the Mediterranean. He visited Egypt, spending significant time in Alexandria, the intellectual center of the ancient world. There, he studied Egyptian history and culture, drawing directly from local sources and monuments. He also traveled to Rome, where he had access to valuable Roman records and first-hand accounts of recent events. His journeys took him through Greece as well, allowing him to visit historical sites and consult a wide range of literary and archival materials. These travels were crucial, as Diodorus aimed to compile a universal history, and he sought out authentic sources to give depth and credibility to his narrative. Diodorus dedicated most of his life to writing his monumental work, the Bibliotheca Historica, historical library. This universal history, composed of 40 books, covered the world's events from mythological times to around 60 BCE. He organized his history both geographically and chronologically, covering Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, Scythia, North Africa, Greece, and Rome, among others. His work preserves many details from earlier historians whose works have been lost to time, including accounts from Herodotus, Ephorus, and Polybius. Though some critics have pointed out inaccuracies and a reliance on secondary sources, Diodorus' effort to weave together such a comprehensive narrative is still deeply respected. As a historian, Diodorus believed that history should not only record facts but also serve as a moral guide. He often emphasized the importance of virtue, justice, and the unpredictable role of fortune in human affairs. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Diodorus wrote with admiration for a variety of cultures, giving respect to Egyptian wisdom, Roman power, and Greek achievements alike. His work aimed to provide readers with lessons from the past, hoping to inspire ethical reflection alongside historical understanding. The final years of Diodorus' life remain mostly a mystery. It is believed that he continued to work on his Bibliotheca Historica until his death, likely in his homeland of Sicily or possibly in Alexandria. He probably died sometime between 30 and 20 BCE. Despite the gaps in our knowledge about his personal life, Diodorus left behind a legacy that has endured for over 2 millennia. His universal history remains a precious source for historians, offering insights into ancient civilizations, mythologies, and the events that shaped the classical world. Through his life's work, Diodorus Siculus succeeded in creating one of the most ambitious historical projects of antiquity. His Bibliotheca Historica continues to be a vital link to the past, preserving the voices and stories of cultures that might have otherwise been forgotten. Though he lived in an era of great change, straddling the final days of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Empire, Diodorus' dedication to recording the vast tapestry of human history ensures his place as one of the essential historians of the ancient world. Diodorus Siculus began his Bibliotheca Historica with a grand ambition: to write a universal history of the world, from its mythical beginnings to the recent past of his own lifetime. He divided the work into 3 major parts, thematically and geographically. The first part focused on mythological history and the ancient world beyond Greece. The second covered the history of Greece itself. And the third chronicled the rise of Rome and its dominion over the known world. His aim was to provide a continuous narrative that linked all human history, showing the rise and fall of nations as a grand, interconnected story. Bibliotheca Historica originally had 40 books, but not all have survived. However, ancient scholars have preserved outlines, and all include both the surviving parts and what is known of the lost ones. The first 5 books, which are fully preserved, offer an account of the mythological and early historical traditions of various cultures. Book 1 is devoted to Egypt, describing its geography, customs, religion, and history. Diodorus paints a vivid picture of the ancient civilization, portraying the Egyptians as wise and deeply religious. He discusses the Nile's importance, the construction of pyramids, and the grandeur of the pharaohs. Book 2 turns to the history of Mesopotamia, including the Assyrians, Babylonians, and Chaldeans, and then moves to the early history of India and Scythia. Here, Diodorus mixes historical facts with legend, recounting tales of great kings like Ninus and Semiramis and their imperial conquests. Books 3 to 5 explore North Africa, Arabia, and the Mediterranean islands, before shifting focus to Greek mythology and early Greek history. In Book 3, Diodorus describes Ethiopia and Libya, attributing to these regions ancient cultural achievements and legendary origins. Book 4 is rich with mythological tales, including the labors of Heracles, the stories of Theseus, the Argonauts, and the saga of the Trojan War. Diodorus presents these myths not just as entertainment, but as historical traditions that explain the values and origins of civilizations. Book 5 covers the history and cultures of the Western Mediterranean, including Sicily, Gaul, Iberia, and the islands of the Atlantic like Britain. Here, he offers invaluable insights into the customs and beliefs of these distant peoples, including early Celtic and Iberian tribes. Unfortunately, books 6 through 10 are lost, but ancient summaries tell us they covered the history of the early Greek city-states, from their mythical foundations to the Persian Wars. These books likely included the rise of Sparta and Athens, the development of laws and governance, and the early conflicts that shaped the Greek world. Books 11 to 20, which survive in large fragments, provide a detailed account of Greek history from the Persian Wars to the campaigns of Alexander the Great. Book 11 opens with the famous Battle of Salamis, a turning point in the Greco-Persian Wars. Diodorus recounts the heroism of Themistocles and the strategic genius of the Greek forces. The following books cover the rise of Athens during its Golden Age, the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta, and the eventual decline of Greek city-states. In Books 16 and 17, Diodorus shifts to the astonishing conquests of Philip II of Macedon and his son, Alexander the Great. He provides a sweeping narrative of Alexander's campaigns, from his initial victories in Asia Minor to the conquest of Persia and his march into India. Diodorus describes Alexander not just as a military genius but as a ruler with a vision of global empire. Books 18 to 20 deal with the tumultuous period following Alexander's death, known as the Wars of the Successors. These books chronicle the power struggles among Alexander's generals as they carve out kingdoms and vie for control over the fragments of his empire. Diodorus vividly portrays the ambitions, betrayals, and shifting alliances of figures like Ptolemy, Seleucus, Antigonus, and Cassander. These narratives give readers a front-row view of one of the most chaotic and dramatic periods in ancient history. The final 20 books, sadly, are lost in full, though summaries remain. These books continue the history from the Hellenistic period through the rise of Rome. Diodorus likely covered the expansion of Roman power throughout the Mediterranean, the Punic Wars with Carthage, the conquest of Greece, and the civil wars that shook the Roman Republic. His narrative probably concluded around 60 BCE, providing a bridge between mythic beginnings and the consolidation of Roman supremacy. Throughout the Bibliotheca Historica, Diodorus maintained a consistent approach. He sought to offer not only a record of events but also moral lessons. He admired courage, piety, and wisdom, and he criticized arrogance and injustice. He believed that history could teach people to understand the power of fortune and the importance of virtue in public life. His work, despite its occasional reliance on second-hand accounts, remains a precious source for historians today, especially because he preserved stories and details from earlier authors whose works have not survived. In the end, Diodorus' Bibliotheca Historica stands as one of antiquity's most ambitious historical projects. By weaving together the myths, legends, and histories of so many cultures, Diodorus offered his readers a sweeping view of the human journey, a story of triumphs and tragedies, of heroes and tyrants, and of the rise and fall of empires. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.